Hello, my name is Brenda Quesada, and I will be recording the life story of Paul Hernandez, aka Leilani Price. This recording is happening on November 3rd, 2019. We are recording in Fresno, California, the Henry Madden Library. Before we begin, can I have you state your name along with your age and your preferred pronouns?
My name is Paul Hernandez, aka Leilani Price. I am 35 years old, and my pronouns are he, her, them, all of the above.
Okay, and lastly, how would you like to be identified in regards to your sexual orientation, gender identity?
Identify as homosexual, and I identify as anything. It doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, this interview will be focusing on your life story and your experience as a member of the LGBTQ plus community here in Fresno. To start off, I would like to get some background information about you. And I've jotted down a few questions.
Okay.
So we went over your pronouns. Can you tell me like 3 fun facts about yourself off the bat?
3 fun facts is I'm spontaneous, I procrastinated a lot, and I'm super creative when I'm tired.
I can agree. Okay. When and where did you grow up?
I grew up in Tulare, California. Actually, let me rephrase. I was born in Tulare, California, and I was raised in Tipton, California. And Tipton's a small, very rural country, or city, sorry. And yeah, I grew up on a farm. It was interesting.
Wow, I did not know that. I would never thought that.
Tipton is so small, too. It's like, I think there's like 1,000 people when I was growing up. We lived next to a cotton field and a cornfield, and we lived on a farm. Yeah, it was fun.
What was your best memory of growing up in the farm?
We were bad kids, me and my sisters. So we would go and we would always like cause trouble on the cotton. They're the huge cotton bales, and we would go and climb on them and jump in, and like the cops would come and everything. We were bad, but yeah, I love doing that.
What was your earliest memory of realizing that you were different from other kids?
I think I had to be about 6 or 7. I was pretty young. My mom let me dress. I was allowed to dress myself. That was a first mistake because I would wear like a Mickey Mouse shirt with like cowboy boots and short shorts, you know. And I would be walking around thinking. I think that's when I actually started like wanting to wear heels, things like that. I absolutely loved it. So. I think that's when I realized I was different. I was always prone to seeing things as being more accepting as a child. And I was super, not clingy, but I cared a lot about other people. And that's not normal in our family. We're, very sarcastic, and we'll fight with each other all the time. And I'm just like, stop, you guys are hurting each other's feelings. Now it's, completely different. I'm just like...
It's completely changed.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone that you looked up to as a role model during that time when you were growing up?
During that time, yeah, it definitely was my mom. I'm a huge supporter, and I will always be a supporter of women, empowering women. So my mom, at one point, was a single mom, pretty much living off the system and raising 3 kids on her own, and it was hard. We weren't the best of kids, so it was definitely difficult for my mom. So just to see her go through her struggles, and she's also hearing disabled or hearing impaired, and just to see her struggle with the disability, still take care of her kids, hold down the fort, get us through school. She was definitely one of my role models, making sure that we just stayed on top of everything. So growing up, she was the main one.
So would you say that you had to grow up pretty fast?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
So you said that you were going to school at the same time while you had to take care. And how hard was it to try to focus in school and then having to go home and then be the parent for everyone else?
It's rough. I think the biggest thing though is when you get out of school, you kind of have to learn how to take care of yourself. And I was also the only man in the family, so it made it even 10 times worse because I felt like the expectation of being more responsible was there for me, and then having to care for the emotional needs three women in one house. So it was challenging.
Wow. Is there any times where like it was really hard and you just wanted to give up? How did you like learn to navigate that and push through those thoughts?
Yeah, there actually were a lot of times where I felt like I was less than or wasn't good enough. Because you think of it like I'm a small city boy.
Mm-hmm.
You never dream of big city lights, you know? So for me, it's always how I got through that was like I wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or something very successful that made a lot of money, and I always equated money with success. That's not necessarily true anymore. Success is what you do with it and how you handle it and who you are. So yeah, I definitely learned that at a young age. I think going into high school is when I realized, like, because I was involved with everything. Like, you name the club, I was in it. I was president, I was spokesperson, I was here, I was in honors classes. And I did that because I wanted to seem successful, even though I had a rough childhood growing up. So I see things like that.
So, what kind of clubs did you do while you were in high school?
In high school, a lot of it was, so there was the Avid Club, there was the Interact Club. It's all mostly community service and academics. There was Future Business Leaders of America. I was president of the Key Club. I think one year we ended up doing like 2,000 hours of community service. It was like every weekend we were doing something. You know, on our lunch breaks when we were juniors and seniors, we were allowed to leave campus. So we were going over to the senior centers, and just talking with them for like 30 minutes. And so we did a lot of that stuff, planted trees, fundraisers, you name it, we did it. It was always busy. I was also going to a lot of conferences. So on top of that, so I would have an academic schedule with honors classes, and then I would have to go to a conference or to a meeting or to something. So it definitely weighed down on me, but it definitely taught me how to manage my time a little bit better. Now getting older, that's changed again.
Yeah. What would you say was like the thing for you in like your elementary years that like made you decide, oh, this is what I want to do, as in terms of like getting involved with clubs?
In elementary, I think it had to have been maybe like the 5th grade. I had a teacher, and she was just an amazing person. She was super nice. She just was super, like, how do I say this? She just cared, and she cared for the kids. And that made me, like, because at first I was like, oh, I want to be a doctor. Then I was like, no, I want to be a teacher. No, I want to be a doctor. So then I was like, I wanted to take care of people. And so I remember her telling me something along the lines of, like, you have to take care of yourself and do for you. And I remember that was just one of the things I was like, okay, I need to find my happy. And I tell this to everyone, find your happy. Whatever it is, if it's temporary, if it's permanent, find your happy and be there. So I think I actually got that from her, where I kind of learned how to, like, see what makes me happy and then go from there. So I think at that point, it was like 5th grade. I want to say it's Miss Sola. I can't remember her name. It's been so many years and so many bottles already. So I'm like, ah.
Well, that's great, because like I didn't realize that till I was 18, because like all my life like I was silenced, and it's like great when you hear people say that, oh, like they had that mentality when they were so young, and I didn't have it till I was like way late already. I'm just like, wow, hearing that, it's like there's role models out there that like want to change.
Well, I'm spiritual, not religious at all. But I'm a firm believer that in our lives we're destined to meet certain people, and these certain people are going to somehow inspire you, or light something in your brain that you're not going to necessarily know right then and there.
Yeah.
So like growing up, I started to realize and pay attention to these signs and these people. There's like my 2nd grade teacher, my 5th grade teacher. Then I get into high school, Miss Myers. She was the one that pushed me to just dream. Like I wanted it all, you know? And she put everything in perspective, you know? She actually sponsored me to go to a conference in Chicago because she was like, you have so much potential and you don't even see it. Like, you're wasting it. You're not even tapped into it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, because obviously I'm young. I'm like, oh, it's whatever. Yeah. And it wasn't until I seen that people want you to who people who want you to be successful are going to support you and back you and tell you what you want to hear and what you need to hear. It may hurt you sometimes, but it's going to motivate you. So I think throughout my life I've always had these people. Like right now, my best friend Corey, she's she owns her own business here locally, and it's a small business, just her and one more worker, and she changes things, the perception of things, of how I see it. And it just motivates me to be more aggressive with how I take my drag, how I go and amplify it times 10 to be more of a voice for our community. I think for me, at the end of the day, it's like finding those people in your life that are going to tell you some things. Sometimes it's going to hurt your feelings, but it's going to motivate you, and that's what she's been doing for me. So I think in my life, I've always had those things. So I think you may have had those things. You probably just didn't pay attention to them.
Yeah, I've definitely had like a few little instances, but like just realizing and thinking back, I just like, fuck, I wish I could have like done something about it at the moment. But at the same time, like I was growing up, I was realizing stuff about myself, things that I was dealing with in my head, that I have never talked about. So like I couldn't have instantly like connected it at the same time. But like I would definitely agree with you about like the spiritual part, about how like these people come into your life and like they spark something that like was already in you, and it's just like it's amazing.
Yeah.
But anyways, aside from like school, where was your first job, and like what was that like?
So growing up poor, we had to work for everything. So when my dad was around, I was working with him because he did construction on houses, like under the table, because he was an illegal immigrant. So he would take us, and he would give us money. That's not like a real job, but I was kind of smart in high school. So my sophomore year, I became a tutor, and I was tutoring juniors and seniors in math.
Oh my God.
So I was getting paid because I forgot what the name of the company was, but it was through school. Anyways, we would be tutors, and we would, have sessions, and I would get like $40-$50. Not a lot of money, but still, I was like, oh my God, I'm rich.
Yeah.
I was dumb. And then I started to realize, like, this money I could be helping my mom out with bills and stuff. So then I had a friend, Megan was her name. Her mom wanted a housekeeper, so she was like, I'll pay you guys both to, do that. So we would clean the house, and then I would cut the grass, and she would pay us like $60 each. And I was like, wow, this is good money. I'm going to start doing this. So I was cutting grass, cleaning houses, and being a tutor. I think that was like my sophomore year. I thought I was hot shit, because I was like, oh, I got 3 jobs, I'm good. And then fast forward to the real world, my first job, like right out of high school, was I worked for a lady. Her name was, what was her name? Cindy. And we were cold calling these businesses to start this organization for her. She's very successful now, very successful. But it was just her, another girl, me, and my friend Dominique. And we would just go, and we would sit there, and we would call. We got our first check. I was like, what'd you get, sis? And she was like, $600. I was like, bruh, $600, we're rich. Couldn't even pay our rent. But yeah, like, that was pretty cool. It was a fun job. It was definitely easy, but like leading up to it, like, it was cool. I guess a tutor was my first job.
Okay, now let's just fast forward to coming out. I know you told me how you identified. Let me just ask you again, how do you identify in terms of your sexuality, and how did you come to terms with your sexuality?
Okay, so I identify as a homosexual. I am attracted to men. Actually, let me rephrase. I would be more considered a demisexual, I think it is, where it's like the emotional connection of someone.
Before the sexual.
Yeah, so I definitely, that's one of the biggest things for me. But I'm attracted to men still, so it's kind of like, I can be emotionally attracted to someone and then physically attracted to someone. And how did that come about? So we're going to go personal, okay? For about 9 years out of my life growing up, I was molested by my uncle. And in my head, the thought of being with a man was already predetermined for me. So when I told my parents, my mom really didn't pay it no mind. It was like, traditional Hispanic family. Yeah. Oh, my brother would never do that to you. My dad, on the other hand, like, beat the living crap out of my uncle. And until he died, I felt like my dad did his best to protect me away from him, and my mom was like, "Don't say anything, don't do anything,"
Yeah.
kind of. So I was kind of torn. Um, so I've always been attractive to the male species, and I think a lot of it has to do with the physicality of it, of being with someone who can identify with me, who can feel what I feel, or felt what I felt, and so yeah, I think that's when it originally first started. I did kind of have romantic flings in high school, but never really went anywhere. We weren't like boyfriends or anything. Came to college and it was a wrap. You do the college thing and you fall in love with everybody. So yeah.
And then the same goes for how did you come to terms with your gender identity?
Yes. How did I come to terms with my gender identity? Um,
In terms, because like I know drag is a part of what you do.
Mhm.
I know it's not that you, because I know you don't identify as a woman solely, but it's kind of part, I want to say, of your gender identity solely because it's like the way that you do gender.
Okay. Well, I think if anything, I would be more non-binary, because I don't think I'm masculine and I don't think I'm feminine. I'm like right in between. Like I'm not androgynous, but if I were to wear like a beanie and some earrings, you'd be like, I don't know, that might be a woman. But things like, I think for me, I'm on both sides of the spectrum. There's times when I am very, you know, soft and sensitive and I have, women qualities, I guess you can say. And then there's days where I'm just like, let's go knock shit out, And I have like that alpha male in me, which I absolutely hate though. But I think more or less like it's more non-binary now that things are coming into term and things are being identified and talked about. I think most recently is when I started to identify that. Well, when I started doing drag, I was like, everyone's like, oh, you want to be a woman? I'm like, no, I don't. I love what I got downstairs.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it for entertainment purposes. I like the attention. So I think ultimately that's what it boils down to for me, is being non-binary, because it's a good balance of masculine and feminine, just enough for me, but probably not the best for everyone else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally get what that means, because like recently I found out, like, I used to identify as more so like on the feminine side, but like I have masculine qualities in me that I just don't really like to show as much, but also feminine ones. And I was like, fuck, I hate gender. Like I really hate gender. Like, why can't I just be in the middle? And I felt really insecure about that lately, but now it's just like,
Why?
I think it's because like growing up, it was always, like you can't like women because only men can do it. Like if you want to be more masculine, it must mean that you want to be men. And I always felt insecure. I don't know why, but now I'm just like, calling myself androgynous makes me more comfortable. Like I don't have to be one. I'm just like, I am who I am. Like I'm very soft, I'm very sensitive, but I'm also like hard.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's funny because people are like, oh, how do you identify? And half the time I'm like, I'll say something stupid like a jellyfish, and they're like, what? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like you can call me Paul, you can call me Lay, you can call me he, she, they. Like my friends all call me Lay. Unless like we're fighting, they're like, Paul Javier Hernandez, and I'm like, oh, we're in trouble. But like normally everyone calls me Lay, so it's like it's not like a big deal to me. If you see me on the street, okay, so fun. We're gonna sidetrack really quick. I was on a date, and I have a hat and it says Leilani Price on it. And I had just released a movie called The Life of Lay, the man behind the makeup, and there was this young girl. I think her name was Kelly. No, Keller. No, oh, I can't remember. Oh, let me not mistake them. So we're at the movie theater. I'm like, let's go to Clovis Cinema because no one knows me there. It's good, because I was dealing with a lot with the pressure of like the community, and we'll talk about that. So I was just like, we go, and the guy's playing a video game, and I'm like, I'm gonna go get his popcorn and soda. He's like, cool. So I go, and this person at behind the concession stand. Like, I'm talking to this young lady, and I'm like, I want popcorn, blah, blah, blah. This person comes up and says, hey, I don't mean to be mean. Are you Leilani Price? And I was like, and I looked back because I'm like, I don't want, he knew I did drag, but I didn't want him to feel uncomfortable because I have a thing. I was married, and I'm sidetracking. Okay, here we go. So I was like, yeah, and she was like, I watched your movie. I love you. Oh my God, you're so amazing. Can I get a photo with you? And here I am. There's two people in this entire concession stand. Me, the girl, and then her, and then the guy over here. Now we're friends. The guy over here. He's walking up, and I'm looking at him like, oh my God. He's looking at me, and I was like, I would prefer not to, only because A, I'm not in drag, and B, I'm just wanting a low-key night.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I totally get it. She's like, I absolutely love you. I'm a huge fan of you. I'll support you. And as she's saying this, he's walking up, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? We got the full crowd. I was like, thanks, babe. I was like, if we're out of the movie, you're still here, I'll snap a photo with you. I don't like doing stuff like that. Like, I hate telling people no, but at the same time, I didn't want him to feel excluded.
Yeah.
So we sit down in the movie, and he's like, what was that about? I was like, oh, I was telling him, and he was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, what do you mean you know? He was like, it took a lot of courage for me to even want to ask you out. And I was like, why? And he's like, I don't think you realize how big of a name you are here in town. And I'm like, I'm just some regular schmegular girl from the Bronx, And he like laughs and I laugh, and I was like, let's just watch this movie. So we watched the movie and we walked out, and the girl was there, and I was like, do you still want your photo? And she's like, are you okay with it? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. It's fine. I was like, it's fine, let's do it.
Wow.
But we talked about that in the car, and he was like, I don't think you've ever realized how big of a name you are in this community for what you do for people. And I was like, I don't see it, because I would do what I would do for any person. I want the world to be a better place. Although I'm not contributing to it, because I'm an insult comedy queen, so I'm always like picking on people. So I was like, you're bullying me, and I'm like, no, I'm just being funny. But yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, because I wish more people had that mentality where it's just like, it's not about like me giving back, it's just about I want the world to be a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being humble about it is like, it's great to hear someone else say that. Okay, so how was coming out to you?
So it was actually kind of like a surprise party for everyone else. So no one really knew I was gay, but it was, my sister was in 8th grade, Angie was in 6th, so I must have been in like 5th grade, 4th grade. No, wait, was she graduating high school or? I can't remember. I was young, and I was wearing my sister's graduation dress. It was blue lace that my mom had got at like Sears or something, and I had a towel wrapped around my head as a wig, and I'm playing Toni Braxton's Unbreak My Heart super loud on the radio, and I'm coming down the stairs, and I'm just like giving the performance of my life, like just, and in my head I'm like, I'm doing what feels natural to me. So I'm just I'm like, singing it, and then I turn around, and everyone, my sisters, my mom, I don't think my dad was there, were sitting there, and they were just like, well, I run upstairs, and I'm like, nothing happened. So I think they knew that I was gay, that or I wanted to be like an entertainer, So I fast forward to high school graduation. I remember telling my family, my sisters had gotten into a horrible car accident on my graduation day, and they were in the hospital, and it kind of ruined my senior day. But I remember telling my mom, like, hey, I don't want you to be mad. I'm gay. I'm going off to college, and I want to experience the college, and I want to live my life. My mom's like, okay. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, okay. Keep in mind, I graduated top like 5% of my class. I was like like there was valedictorian, salutatorian, and then there was like me. you know? And I was like, I'm right there. So anyways, I ended up getting all these great scholarships and everything. She's like, it doesn't matter what you do. You're going to do what you're going to do. And you're good at what you do. I was like, okay. I told my sisters, and they're like, yeah, we knew. I was like, wow, rude. So I had to go. I was driving at this time, and I went to go pick up my dad in Hanford, who was separated from my mom at this point and remarried. And I was angry at him because he had left the family. So I'm like, I'm going to go to school, and I have all these scholarships, and I'm only taking you because I want you to see how successful I am without you. And I was like being rude to my dad. And I'm like, and I'm going to be a doctor, and I'm gay. I was like, I like men, like all loud and screaming. My dad looks at me with like a tear in his eye, and he's like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. And I'm like, what? And he was like, I've always loved you. I knew you were special. I'm gonna cry.
It's okay.
He's like, I just want you to be happy. Mm-hmm. He's like, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, go do whatever you want. I know what you're gonna do. You're gonna love it. And that wasn't the reaction I wanted. Like, I wanted to fight. So I'm graduating, and everything is great, you know. I just remember saying, you know, no one has a problem with me being gay in this family. That's not the problem. The problem is they want me to go to college. They want me to be something. That was the real pressure. So yeah, so my coming out, I guess, story wasn't really like me coming out. It was more of like a surprise party for everyone else that they knew. It's like that surprise party you don't know about, but everyone knows about, but then you know. It's that.
Wow, that's great. Cause like honestly, I felt the same way. Like when I came out, I wanted it to be like something dramatic, I guess. But at the same time, it was darker than that because it was like no acceptance. So like when I hear other like Mexican families say that they took it well, I'm just like, I get shocked because I'm just like, I wish that was my experience, because it's harder for like people of de nuestra raza to like come to terms with homosexuality, at least I think. And that's great. Like honestly,
I have like one of the rarest stories of acceptance from a Hispanic family, so it's kind of weird. Like everyone knew, other than me. So I was like, do I get a cake now or what? Like, yeah, but everyone knew in my family. They were like, yeah, we knew you were special, and I was like, thanks.
So, since you did say that they took it well, was there any battles that you faced from like your friends or like the world or like workplaces in general?
Not necessarily from friends. I was well liked and accepted in high school and in college. In the world, I've only had one bad situation happen, and it was in terms of like bullying. And I remember this African American man who I found out later is gay. Normally happens.
Right.
Was picking on me, and I was trying to figure out like why he's picking on me, because we had what was it, like PE or something together. And I remember like I was waiting for the bus, and he was like, "You're a fucking faggot," and I was all, "Excuse me?" And he was like, "You're a fucking faggot, huh?" And I was like, "I might be. Why? What's up?" And I had a sharp tongue. And he was like, "You're fucking disgusting." Well, this guy who I dated or knew my sister somehow, his name was Dario. He came up to this guy because he was like in my face, and I'm not backing down. I was little. I mean, maybe I'm 5'7" now. I was like probably 5'4". I didn't develop until late. So I remember he walked up and he was like, "What the fuck is your problem?" And he was like, this don't will concern you or whatever. And then the guy Dario, I just remember went and just punched this guy in the face. And he's like, "Now he's a fucking faggot." And I was like, oh. So that was like, I mean, it wasn't like really a negative thing, but it was still like, he stopped it from going even further, you know? I mean, have I been into fights? Oh yeah. Would I do it again? Probably not, but that's like the only negative thing that I had happen to me. Yeah, party.
How did you deal with homophobia and like prejudice? Because you see, you're 35 and you came out when you were after you graduated
16.
high school. What year was that? Like, what was going on around your environment during that time?
During high school?
Yeah, was that the Bush years? Or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really haven't. Well, the only time that I experienced like homophobia at its fullest was when we did the first drag story hour, and that was 2-3 years ago. I'm trying to remember two. Anyways,
So recently.
yeah. ABC had posted. You know how ABC and Channel 24 do those little stories. So they had did a story, and there were so many hateful comments, and I was like, I can't deal with this. Like, they're attacking something that's malicious, and we're not doing that. Like, we're just literally reading stories to kids. Parents know that we're drag queens. Parents know how we identify. They themselves are choosing to bring their kids to this, and I remember just going through the comments and just fighting word for word with these people and these homophobes and these Clovis residents, and they were just so mean. Like, oh, you guys are abomination. You guys, all you want to do is touch kids. And me being molested, that hurt even more, because I'm like, if anyone knows me, knows that I want to stop that. Like, pedophilia is not okay with me, period. Like, so I would go and I'll fight tooth and nail. So I think, did we go on TV that day? Something happened. And I remember, this is why everyone's like, oh, drag story hour is so controversial. And I'm like, it's really not when you think about it. But we had did a story anyways. And I remember checking, this is when Facebook released like how to find those filtered messages. So I was like looking through my filtered messages, and there was one message from this guy who had said, I know where you work. I know what you do. I'm going to fucking kill you. I was scared, because this was the first time that I've seen something like that. And so I did a live video, and it ended up getting like 8K views. And I remember telling people, like, stop being fucking mean. Like, there's no ill harm towards us or towards this. Like, the thing that pissed me off the most was that people were fighting over children's books, not over anything else. Like, was it worth it? Like, because we're reading to your children, you're upset? If you're so upset about it, why aren't you reading to your children? Why aren't you encouraging public libraries to read to your children? I'm a big fan of education, by the way. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm going to die on the cross, be, the martyr, and be destroyed for doing something that is uplifting. Obviously, nothing happened. I'm here today. But I remember being scared and thinking, like, wow, this is what it really feels like to have a voice. Because I knew growing up or not growing up, but doing drag, I had a voice, and I was using it. And this was like the first big cause that I was like, I'm done backing down. I want to fight. And so yeah, I mean, that day was great. Went off with a hitch. We had 100 and something kids there at Common Space when they were at their old space, and we had security there that was disguised as parents, just in case anything happened. As time progressed, we got a little smarter. We started doing background checks on all the queens, and having people RSVP, so we had names and phone numbers and addresses. So in the event that something did go wrong, at least we would be able to track it back. But it's sad that we live in a world where we have to protect our kids that aren't even ours, but we have to protect the kids that are possibly our future, our community. And that's what scares me the most, is that people are so willing and so mean to hurt like an ally. I don't know, it's weird. That's like the first experience, or like the recently experience I had with homophobia and people. I don't know, is there even a phobia for drag queens?
I have not heard of it.
What's the
Someone will come up with it later.
What's the one for clowns? It's very similar to that.
I think it's agoraphobia. I
Fear of
think that's
clowns.
what it is. It's weird. But yeah, that's crazy, because I noticed too when I actually speak up and I use my voice, like, I'm the one getting fucked. I'm the one having to quit my job. I'm the one having to like leave because it's like as like I feel like the powerful lesbian because I do all these things and I say all these things and it's just like now I have to get out of that situation because like there is no like comfort for me in there. Like it sucks.
But the beautiful thing about being uncomfortable is it pushes you to make yourself comfortable.
Yeah.
So if you don't like a situation, you get yourself out of the situation. If you want to better that situation, you make everyone else be comfortable with you. And that's one thing I realized. That's why I'll always fight for the underdog. Drag story time, HIV awareness, education, you know, I'm here for it. Mental health is one of my newest things that I'm working on because never in my entire life did I think I had mental health issues until recently.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, check on a friend. You know, me and my friend Martin, who I absolutely love, he will do like a mental health check on me. He's like, how are you doing today on Monday? And I'm like, I'm good, I'm here. Like, because I have, being in the public eye, balancing my life, her life, and then dealing with like things in life, I've noticed that it does put you in a very dark place. Let me put something into perspective for you. You go into a club here in town, popular club, Fat Fresno. 249 people pack into that club to come see you on a Thursday night or on a Friday night. You go being the most sought out thing where people are wanting to touch you, give you money, take a photo with you, to going home by yourself with a cat. You have 4 hours of glory to come home to 8 hours of complete solitude. Changes your perception on life. You get very dark. You get very lonely. People tell me all the time, doesn't that scare you? No, I'm not afraid to be in the dark because I know how to get out. That's the beautiful thing about mental health. You know you can put yourself in a situation where it's okay to feel that way, but know how to get out. Always have that flashlight, always have that candlelight next to you. Whether it's a friend, a comfort food, a memory, a movie, find your way to get back out of those things. My thing when I get in these dark places, right off the bat, it's comfort food. Because then I start feeling bad. Like, I'm like, oh my God, yes, I needed this today, you know? And then I'm like, click. I needed this for me. I need me to be me. I need to be happy. And that's how it triggers in my mind. So I go through that, and I'm just like, okay, I feel good. Let's go spend money, you know? Or let's go do that, you know? And I get out of that funk. There's days where it's harder. There's days I don't want to get out of bed. Days I have social anxiety. I'll have a panic attack. You learn how to deal with it. You keep moving.
I need to practice that because that sounds useful, honestly. Okay, let's move on. Where did you find your sense of queer community and how did you express yourself?
My queer community, so fun fact, when my friend Anthony Ash and I were playing on a softball team, he had to drag. Mind you, I hated drag queens. I'm like, you guys are dirty, you're ugly, you know, so it's kind of funny. So he was like, if you lose this bet, we're playing softball, and if I strike you out, fast pitch underhand, you have to do drag for pride. I'm like, first of all, that's never going to happen. Second of all, bring it on. So first one I completely missed, strike. Second one, I tipped the ball, so it was a foul. The pressure was on. I was like, I might have to do this. So I was like, you know what? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If I hit this ball, I hit this ball. If I don't, let's do it. Completely missed. Swung and a miss. Swung as hard as I could. All right, let's do this. Put some makeup on me. I posted it on my boys' social media page. And I remember everyone was like, who's she? I was like, that's me. They're like, no fucking way. I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm doing drag for pride. Everyone was excited. My mom, my sisters came. My sister husband came. My best friends were there. Everybody was there. It was a fucking party. Right before, though, I had sprained my ankle. So I was wearing these ugly wedges with a swollen ankle, shaved my legs, wore this like romper from Forever 21. Or it was probably like Charlotte Russe at that time. And this wig with bangs, thinking I was like the hottest girl. I look like Shrek, okay? I'm just gonna be honest. But I sold it. I was out there doing it, and I remember saying, "My first performance that I'm doing, I'm gonna give this money away, because I don't need it, but I'm gonna give it away to like Pride or I forgot why. I think it was Pride. I think I made $300 that night because everyone was like, "Oh my God, we're so down, we love it." Because you can't see me today, but I was thinner. I was like more of a muscular build, and because I had just got out of the military too, so I was like nice little petite body. So everyone was like living. I did Kelly Rowland Motivation, and I just remember thinking like, that was cool. And then the girls were like, "We absolutely loved you. We want you to come back." And I was like, "I don't know if it's for me." Fast forward 8 years now, and here I am, the queen of everything, drag queen extraordinaire. But I always told myself, if I ever did drag, it's going to be for my community. So I think one of the stories that I first heard was about the Stonewall riots, was about a drag queen of color, person of color, a drag queen. She's a trans woman, but she had initiated and threw the first brick. And I remember thinking to myself, like, that's amazing. People don't give drag queens enough credit. Like, if you see a drag queen, give them $1, give them a compliment. I mean, they may look busted, but be like, you know what? Yes, queen, you work it. That hypes us up because we're like, hey, you know. But honestly, like, that's. I think of it like strong people. You know, everyone's like, oh, drag queens aren't strong individuals. We have led a lot of positive things for our queer community, where people don't pay us enough recognition, you know? And I'm not saying, you know, I want a statue on Fresno State of Leilani Price, but if it's in the budget, not if we got the funding for it. No, I think drag queens can use their platform to amplify things, and that's what I do. Like, I take pop culture and I apply it to the queer community, and I'll put it into performance, and everyone's like, oh, clever bitch, I see what you did there. But things like that, I love doing that. I love fighting the good fight when it's a good fight. If it's something I don't want to get involved with, or something I think that's going to go round and round, I'm not going to say anything. Lately, my biggest platform has been mental health and having people go and vote. I just don't get it. Drag queens should be encouraging other queer people to be like, yeah, your voice matters. Like, go do it. Like, I kind of want to have a drag show at a polling place, to be honest, to see if we could get people there. But yeah, it blows my mind. So yeah.
Honestly, I don't know how like people make up these perceptions about like drag kings or trans people, because like when I remember first meeting you, I didn't like meet you, but I remember it was at the queer prom. It was two queer proms ago. You were there and I seen you and I was just like, oh my God, like something like every time when I look at a drag queen, it's like there's like a light inside of me that's just like it goes off. And it's not because like, oh, you're just like this beautiful person. It's like aside from that, they're using their voice in this way, and that's why I've always been attracted to like the drag queen community, that I want to get so much more involved, because I really do see you guys as like strong individuals, like bad bitches, like so much. And it's just like, wow, that's why I was like so excited that Dr. Cat like allowed me to interview with you, because I was just like, I always felt like there was something more that you had to say, because I don't know, it's just that weird positive energy that you get when there's other people that are like you around you.
See,
I don't want to sound like a weirdo, but
no. So remember how I said there's certain people that you meet in your life that spark something? I'm happy that it's you, to be honest. Like, hearing that you're like, oh, I met you 2 years ago. I'll be honest with you, there's several times when I meet people, I'm like, oh, I forgot their name. Or I'll be like, oh, it's good to meet you. And they're like, we met before. And I'm like, oh, tag me in a post on Facebook so I know your name, you know? But there's things like that. Like, to me, that makes me feel good, A, that you remembered who I was. So that means I made some type of impression on you, which I love doing on people. Is it a huge difference? I'm just kidding.
Well, I remember seeing also because I googled because I know I seen that there was a trailer for like your documentary, and I was like, oh, they don't look that much different, but then with the makeup, it's just like a whole different person. But at the same time, it's just like same person.
Yeah.
Same person.
I'm just a little bit more reserved when I'm at a drag. In drag, I'm just like, you know, I obviously like wrinkled shirt, short shorts. I'm not even wearing socks today for you. But in drag, I'm always like on the tens, you know, heels, everything. You know, everything. It has to be nice. As a boy, I don't care. I'm just like, meh. I'm gonna go get chicken after this. That doesn't matter. I'm getting the Popeye sandwich.
Aside from getting sidetracked.
Sorry.
No, that's totally fine. What was your first brush of a gay experience?
Ooh. I'm not going to say his name, but I had a best friend. And I don't know if it was me that initiated it or it was him, but it was probably me. I initiated a lot of things. We ended up like kissing. And it was weird because like, oh, this is nice. Like, oh, he's my best friend and he's gonna be my lover. Even better, you know. We're gonna be together forever. Yay! Life happens, and so that didn't happen, which is great because he has a beautiful life now. But yeah, that was my first quote unquote gay experience with someone. And then I met someone in high school who was dating a friend of mine. And so yeah, that was like when I had my first like. Yeah. You guys can't see that, but I was doing hand gestures.
Okay, and aside from when you did your first drag show during Pride, when was your like first official like drag show like for an event other than Pride? How did it make you feel, and did it go as planned?
First event. Oh, I could. Well, I became a host of a drag show very quickly, like 3 months into drag, maybe 3 months into drag. And I remember being the it girl. Everyone wanted to be around Lay. Oh, we love Lay. We want t-shirts. And here I am with like a little stamp making t-shirts. Ghetto. So yeah, that was like my first thing. My first actual real big event though, I think was I was given the title of Miss Gay Fresno because I lost originally to Brittany Wildfire, which is a great entertainer. But I had lost, and everyone's like, it's kind of shady that you should have won, but okay. And I'm like, it is what it is. And then I remember she couldn't fulfill her duties. It was like Vanessa Williams' moment. And I was given the crown, and then I remember saying, I wanted to do something, but I wanted it to benefit something that meant a lot to me. Mm-hmm. My grandma had died of stomach cancer. She had a lot of cancer, but stomach cancer primarily. And she meant the world to me. So I remember saying I wanted to give back to people who contribute to cancer. So it was American Cancer Society, and I held an event at the Big Red Church. And I had all the entertainers there, and I had asked them all to donate their time, which is really hard for queens to do because it costs more money to do drag than it does to actually when you get paid. So equal wages for drag queens. So we had like 13 entertainers, all were my friends. We packed the house, we sold tickets, we did whatever we could. I think I had like a nacho bar. And I just remember thinking to myself like, you're really doing it. Everything that you're doing is coming out of your pocket and you're putting this on. And we had the event. It got some coverage on the media, and then it also got some coverage in a magazine, a local magazine here. We raised $1,346. I think like 22 cents. And I remember thinking, this is what you're here for. It's not to be on a pedestal. It's not to do anything. It's to help other people. Did it go according to plan? Absolutely not. Everything was blowing a backside. But I just remember everyone willing to help and contribute. And it wasn't going to a gay charity. It was going to a bigger charity for a bigger cause. And I just remember thinking like, this is what you're meant to do as a queen. You're meant to help. So I took that as a win.
That's awesome. So that's a great segue, leading to activism. Oh, but first, if you could talk to the younger version of you when you were dealing with your sexuality and gender identity, is there anything that you would say to yourself?
Wow. If I was talking to the younger me, I think I would say, speak up. Your body is your body. Don't let no one touch you. Don't let no one hurt you. Be okay with who you are, because it's who you're meant to be. As I get teary-eyed, do you see that?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I do all the time too.
No, but I think I would say, like, your body's your body. Don't let no one touch you. Don't be afraid to speak up. Love your skin. You know, you're gonna want to hurt yourself. Don't.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm all.
No, you're fine. I feel like there's not, like, I get very emotional about that stuff too, because I feel like there's not a lot of people in the world that, like, really care about a survivor's story or their voice. And I attended my first Take Back the Night right here, and, like, I was a victim of emotional and mental abuse. So, like, when I spoke up, like, it took a lot for me to even go up there, because I was, like, contemplating if what happened to me was even real, or if it even counts as abuse. And when I did, like, after, like, during the whole time I was crying, I was just like, I remember saying, like, I feel like there's not a lot of people that care about these issues. So I just want to say that all of you people are beautiful, because, like, this is, like, a great cause, but, like, nobody really cares about these issues. But so, like, when I hear that someone else is, like, passionate about, like, survivors, it's just like everything makes sense in the world. Yeah, I just wanted to say that. Okay. What age did you get connected with Community Link or any other queer organizations, and what led you to that activist mindset?
Okay, so I was actually first involved with the Imperial Deaf Court, which is a 501c nonprofit organization that gives back to local LGBT and non-LGBT communities. That's how I was Miss Gay Fresno, and I remember raising money, and that was like 5-6 years ago. Yeah, maybe longer. 6 years ago? No, yeah. And I remember meeting a guy by the name of Jeffrey Robinson. Huge guy. 6'4", I think. 320. Kidding. He came up to me and he was like, I remember him talking to me about Pride. And I admired this man from afar because of what he did. I knew who he was. And so he was like, if you want to help out with Pride, we're all for it. And I was like, yeah. So I want to say I started off with him 5 years ago, because he said, we would love to have you entertain. I was like, well, I'm a host. I was like, a host doesn't show up just to entertain. And he was like, okay. It's all snotty. And so I ended up hosting Gay Pride, like the entertainment tent of it. And I've always grew fond of him. So then he was like, do you want to get involved? So I got involved with him. We'd go to meetings, like, sporadically here and there, help out with little things, fundraisers primarily. Then it was like, we talked, and I think that year I was Empress the next year after that, which it was 116 degrees and I had pneumonia.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did that and then did all of those things. The next year I was Grand Marshal for the parade. The year after that, I was the first ever drag queen to host Gay Pride, the actual parade. And I remember thinking, like, my life wouldn't have been able to get to this accomplishment. That's a huge accomplishment. Gay Pride now houses about 5,000 to 6,000 people. I'm representing the smallest percentage of our community, which are our drag queens, on the microphone, being broadcasted, you know. Great. So this will be my third year hosting Gay Pride, my third and final year hosting Gay Pride, celebrating 30 with them. So it's a huge accomplishment to get there to where I am today. And it all started with just, do you want to come to a meeting? And here I am now. I'm also in charge of sponsorships, website, fundraising, the pageant that we put on, yeah.
Did being part of the LGBT community bring you in contact with people of different class backgrounds, and how did that affect your circumstances and your outlook?
What do you mean, classes, like financial?
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely has. I've met professionals, doctors, lawyers who are identify as gay or bisexual or lesbian. And I don't really think it affected it because Lay kind of has one of those personalities where it's like she knows when to put it on and when to take it off, you know? Mm-hmm. I worked with the doctor, absolutely, Dr. Julie Nicole. Absolutely love her. She's a huge ally for our community. Just I want people to remember she's one person. You know, she can't have the trans community by herself. So I also think, like, given circumstances, yeah, you know, Lay knows how to turn it on, turn it off. I also use I can't say use, I also prefer going to those types of people when it comes to fundraising. Those are the people that I normally will, hey, we have a function coming up, would you like to be a sponsor? Yeah, okay, great, here you go. Those people absolutely love and adore Lay. Like, I'm sure they have some type of t-shirt or sticker at their office or something, you know? So, yeah.
And I know you said you grew up poor. Was it harder to help other people out when you grew up also with, like, financial needs that were not, like, always met? Because I know, for speaking, like, I grew up poor too. Like, so was it harder for you to help other people out, having grown up with that community?
No. I think if anything, it made me a lot stronger to help them. Like, my mom was huge on volunteerism, so she would make us give food back to the food bank. So we would go, like, package boxes and do stuff like that. And it was funny because we also needed the food too, so it was like we would go help out and they would help us. So it's kind of like that's actually geared that up. I'm also the type of money is money. If you have it, great. If you don't, great. I can care less if you have $1,000 in your bank account or if you have negative $1,000 in your bank account. If you're hungry and I'm hungry, we're gonna eat. If you're cold and I have a shirt, you're gonna have a shirt. You know, that's how I see it. I think growing up poor actually made me a lot better person because it made me work harder for what I have now. It made me strive to be the person I am today. So I see things like that, and I hate when people use like, oh, I didn't have money, so I didn't know any better. No, you know better. You know right from wrong. So I think things like that are like definitely important. I just want to show you right now, since we've been talking for like an hour, and there's like multiple messages and multiple things that are going on. So that's the life of Lay, by the way.
Oh shoot, I didn't even know it's 2:30. I think someone else has this room after.
How many more questions do we have?
2, 3, 4, 5.
I can kind of answer them quickly.
Okay. If not, we could take a break. We could probably find somewhere else. Just somewhere where it's like quiet. Or we could resume another time. Or...
Do you want me to ask them if they have the room right now? Or can you see? Let me see. Okay. Yeah,
They are.
will commence.
How do we pause this?
Stop.
I know, I think that's
Yeah,
to end.
it'll just be 2 parts, I think, maybe.
Okay. Did you always want to stay in the Central Valley? Have you worked with other organizations outside of Fresno?
No, I've never, to be honest, I'd never planned on living in Fresno or even being in Fresno. And I joke, I'm like, oh, I'm leaving this year. No, I'm never going anywhere. Have I helped other organizations outside of here? Yeah, absolutely. When I was Empress in Sacramento, there was a function, and we said, me and my friend, Eva Sensitive, well, not a friend anymore, but an acquaintance, we had said if we raised $500 together that we would jump into a pool at a nightclub out there. And so everyone's like, they went around and they were like, we're at 300 and something dollars. And I was like, haha, we're not going to do it. Well, just to spite me, I guess people were just like pulling out $100 bills. So I think we ended up like $800 or something like that night. So anyways, we ended up having to jump into the pool in full drag.
Oh my god.
So yeah, if you ever had, so drag takes a lot to put on makeup and lashes and wigs, and I wear nylons and pads and heels and everything. So yeah, it was interesting having to do that. But we did it. Like I am that type of person. We were in Stockton and I auctioned off a dress for $210, I think, and I didn't even think it was worth that much, to be honest. But they bought it. So I'm always willing to help out other nonprofits outside of Fresno. Recently, I'm working with The Source. I'll be going over the edge next Friday, rappelling off the Marriott, and I'm actually performing. So coming down, I'm performing off that. So it's kind of exciting. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, I don't fall.
How was it important for you to be so involved with the LGBTQ community?
Once I came out and I became the queen that I am today, I felt that I needed it more than anything else. I needed to be. There's a song by Jasmine Sullivan, and she says, "I want to be the little girl on TV watching me. I want her to be me," or something like that. And I remember thinking, like, if I ever got on RuPaul's Drag Race or Dragula or some mainstream TV, like, I would want, like, a little gay boy in a small city to be like, wow, she did it. I want to do it. Or, like, someone who attempted to commit suicide, or someone who battles with, like, mental health issues or anything like that. I want them to look at me and be like, wow, if she could do it, so can I, So that's how I see it.
Can you tell me about the time or moment that you felt at home with your work with the community, and how was it life affirming?
So when I call it receiving your flowers. I hate flowers, by the way. But when we sold out, me and Matthew Broughton, the director of my movie, when we pretty much sold out Tower Theater, 600 and something people showed up online, wrapped around literally around the block, to come watch a movie about me, little old drag queen me. It showed that people loved and supported their community, loved me, and loved him. So yeah, it was that was the moment where I got the feeling of that I wanted to be. Oh wait. I got the feeling that I was at home, like that people absolutely loved and adored Lay. And just hearing people clap and be loud. It's just, that definitely was the most recent moment that I felt that I'm doing something right. And that it definitely separated me from other queens too.
So speaking of your documentary, because I haven't had a chance to see it.
I'll get you the bootleg.
But I did watch like a 5-minute trailer on it, and I just wanted to ask, like, can you tell me about how you practice mental health through your life experiences?
Um, as it applies to the movie?
Yeah, just
Okay, or in general?
yeah, just tell me about like the process of filming.
Okay, so majority of that was so when Matt and I originally had decided to start the documentary, I had said no matter how bad things get, don't turn the camera off. I battle depression
Mm.
and I battle suicidal thoughts and things like that all the time. And I remember specifically there's a part in the movie where my sister and I are talking. My sister was an addict to every drug in the book. She's now 2 years, 3 years, 2 years sober. And I had a very hateful relationship with her because she, in a sense, abandoned her kids and left that responsibility on the family and my mom. And I just remember thinking, like, she's not well. Until she gets well, she won't ever be well. And we have a moment in the car where she's talking about sex trafficking and how she felt like she was trapped and she couldn't get out, so she resorted to drugs and, and that type of abuse. And I remember saying, like, if anything, I just wanted you to know that you were safe, like I wanted you to know that, like, I did check on you, and it worried me, but for me, like, there's a lot of trauma that I haven't dealt with that I'm learning to deal with and talk about, becoming more open, which has helped me starting to identify and help my mental health.
Mm.
So the movie actually opened up the door for mental health issues, where now I can kind of freely speak about these things.
Mm.
Everyone's like, "You're Leilani Price. Like, how bad is your life?" Like, my life is pretty shitty. Every
Yeah.
life is different.
Definitely.
So I think that's one of the things that now I made myself more vulnerable to the community, because everyone's like, "You're golden. Like, you're good. Like, what you see on social media is not who I am. What you see in person is who I am." When we have these one-on-ones, or when you're sitting in the four walls of my house and you see that I'm emotionally unstable,
Yeah.
I'm insecure as a boy, like, I feel like I have body dysmorphia, things like that. Like, I'm openly talking about things. So I've started to. I love my body. This is what God gave me. This is what I have, or this is what I was created with. Great. I'm gonna destroy it as best as I can, or take care of it as best as I can. So that's how I feel. Like, the movie has helped me by opening up a little bit more to talk about things a little bit more.
That's great because I've a lot of issues around like people trying to like figure out their identity in terms of sexual orientation, gender, like how they are like so economically and socially, is just projecting their feelings out there, because I feel like we live in a system that, like, you're told like if you feel something, like, it's wrong. Like, we bash it all the time because we attribute that to femininity. To cry means to be oh, you have to be a female. Oh, only little bitches crying, this and that.
Or to be weak.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, when we feel our feelings and we get stuff out there, it's just like we are doing a step in taking care of ourselves, reclaiming our voice, breaking the silence. So I feel like, when did the documentary come out?
September 21st, 2018. So last year.
So last year, basically. I need to go buy it on the website.
I'll get you a bootleg copy, don't worry. I'll send you the link.
Is there anything you... Actually, I mean, yeah, we could be done because there's one more question, but I haven't really asked you a lot about, like, drag. What is, like, your daily... Like, what's your day, like, one day, like, in drag?
One day in drag is hell. No. So it depends if I'm running late. If I'm running late, I can get in drag in 27 minutes. And out the door and in the car. That's a quick face. So queens call it quick face, where it's like, I'm late, I gotta go, sis. There's days where it's a big event for me. So last night we had the Queer Out Gala, the second annual Queer Out Gala. I got ready maybe like in an hour and a half. That included like gluing down a wig, padding, doing the whole nine. Um, yeah, I have to. Sometimes I have to mentally prepare it. Like now, I'm pretty much doing drag full time, um, so it's fun. But I have to remember, like, I have to stamp my face because I'm not no longer doing drag for like 2 to 3 hours. I'm doing drag for like 8 to 9 hours. Yesterday was almost a 12-hour day in drag, so and I get compensated for it, of course. But it's a long day in drag to not touch your face or not have to pee.
Wow.
Yeah, so drag queens have it the worst when it, so it's one of those things at the end of the day where if you're passionate about it, wait, touching. If you're passionate enough about it, you're willing to go through it. Like beauty is pain. Um, Today's like my only day off in 3 weeks because I work full time too. Um, on top of that, I'm launching, and so there's a business side of it too, which people don't see. And I treat Lay as a business, so I have new merch coming out. So that means I have to meet with my best friend Corey, who does all my T-shirts, my sweatshirts, my sweatpants, my hats, my stickers. I have to meet with Martin, who does my website. So I mean, there's a lot. There's a team that goes into Leilani Price that people don't see. I have a brunch next week that I have to prepare for, which means I have to go talk to my hairstylist, which is Garrett. And he's doing 6 brand new wigs for me that I have to get ready, and then I have to make my own costumes. And on top of that, I have to sew for other people too. So my life in drag never really stops. Party.
And would you say, like, was there any times where, like, it has gotten so hard to the point where you, like, wanted to cope, wanted to give up? Like, what has been, like, the hardest part about, like, being in drag all day and then having to go home and then having your full-time job?
I think the hardest thing is my self-care. I don't take care of myself as best as I should. So, and it shows because today I'm pretty sure I look exhausted. I overslept. I'll probably go home after this and sleep because I'm exhausted. My voice is raspy. That's probably the hardest thing through it all is that I don't take care of myself. A busy drag queen doesn't take care of themselves, but also I'm a firm believer of if you want it, go get it. And I want to be like America's sweetheart. Like I think I've outgrown Fresno, if that makes sense, which I was afraid of. Because in Tulare, I was a whale in a fish pond. Everyone knew me. Everyone knew everything about me. Now in Fresno, here we are, and you say my name, and it's like, oh yeah, I know her. And I'm like, oh, why? Go back to being like a little goldfish, a little sardine in the ocean, And now I'm like, I guess I'm like a killer shark, a great white, where people just like, you go somewhere and you see my name, or you hear my name, or you see a flyer that I'm on. Like, I'm going to be on a billboard on the 99. So that's pretty amazing. So we're going to, how busy the 99 is and how visual that'll be, that's just blows my mind, things like that.
The Queen of Fresno.
The Queen of Fresno, there you go. I'm sure other queens are gonna love that.
All right. Is there anything that you want young queers to know who are going through similar battles that you have faced with, through substance abuse or domestic violence? Because I know we didn't touch about it a lot, but I know that it's in your documentary. Is there anything that you want, like, young queers or young people who, or anyone in general who's, like, going through similar battles that you have faced?
If someone is going through things, well, I guess this applies to everyone in general, our younger generation. The first thing I would say is speak up. Don't be afraid. There are people out there that are going to help you. There are people out there that are going to rip you and tear you down. Speak up. Find your voice. Find your happy. Find what makes you, you. And hold on to it for dear life. Because there's people that are going to try to rip it out of your hands. I want you to go out there and vote. Your vote does matter. Your voice does matter. you know, if you're passionate enough about it and you speak highly of it, other people are going to get involved and support you. And if you ever feel alone, just remember you're not alone. There's thousands of us who have, millions probably, who have the same or a similar story. Reach out for help. Don't be afraid to get yourself out of the dark.
I think that wraps it up.
Yay! That was fun.